Heather.
Hi. Still got the fire going, I see.
Oh, yes, the fire is roaring. It's very cozy here this evening. And in this coziness, I was just thinking as I was preparing to hop on a call and chat with you today. I know you work with so many leaders at different levels of organizations. Some you're just starting to work with, others, you and I both, we've coached people for years in their roles and other roles, and they're just in their careers as they keep continuing. And if I was to just ask you for some simple snippets, what would you recommend for a leader to open up, to unleash their inner power, to open up to their greater expression of the leader within? That sense of potential that as leaders are developing in their roles and growing, they have that sense of there's more that I could be, there's more that I could do. If you were just in that space with somebody, what would be some really simple snippets you would offer to them to open into that space more of their own expression as a leader? What would you say?
So, what I would answer is that what I tell people and why I love what I do is because in all of our programs, we give people a toolbox that really helps them every day in their roles. But when they're really implementing it and they're in self leadership and they're having the impact they want to have from their role, they're sharing their experience, it's just a much more enjoyable way to be at work. And we all spend a lot of our life at work, and so when I think of people being able to be in their roles and actually feel empowered to fully contribute creatively, contribute their thinking, to have the experience that I love and I want others to love, of being on a team with other, that the benefit is having this great team and getting results together. I want everyone to have that experience so that a job can feel like one of the ways in which we express ourselves in the world. And maybe that sounds lofty or what have you, but since we spend so much time at work, I want everyone to have a better experience and really experience the best of themselves.
Yeah, and for the best of themselves, we work in an environment in business and in teams that for different levels of psychological safety, different levels of complexity, things moving fast, or maybe sometimes things are moving too slow, right? And when you find yourself in that, desire to get that, I'll call it the joy spot of leadership, right? Where you're in that flow and that self expression, and you find yourself holding back or hesitating, what happens there? What can we do in that moment with a more self awareness, a pause and take a breath? What would you recommend in that moment to just be like, should I say it? Should I? Because there's risk, there's vulnerability in leadership all the time. Sometimes I'm like, I take risks all day long. Some days I do,
And
right?
sometimes people don't want to take any more risks, and that's okay too. I think it's an internal check in, sort of like, what impact or influence, I think are the words that we use. What impact or influence do you want to be? How could you be a positive influence right now? And the other one that we always go back to with all of our clients, which it just works and really helps people, which is like, what is the leadership reputation you're going for? And if you have that as your anchor point and you're mindful to make that be at the top of your awareness before you do any team interaction, that really can shift your choices, how you choose to show up, the questions you ask teammates, the just the way you do everything can be informed from this positive reframe of what is the leadership reputation you ultimately really want, and how in this moment is this going to contribute to this or not. I just thought of this other quote that we always use where it's like, it's not fair, but people don't remember what it's like to be with you on your best day.
Mm.
They remember what it's like to be with you on your worst day. They remember, man, that was a really hard time with that project and that deadline, but thank goodness I was on fill in the blanks team. And, even though it went all of these different wonky directions, we somehow came out the other end with something even better. And I loved being on their team, in their company. Like, that's the experience I think we all want to have. And it is possible. So that's why I do what I do, because I want everybody to be able to have that.
Yeah, I love that answer. I want to circle back real quickly to one thing you said about that check in with yourself,
Yeah.
because it brought to mind something a leader just did today that I thought was so wise and so brilliant. And it ties into, like, what reputation you're going for. And this is a leader who had several difficult leadership conversations had to happen last week. And things weren't fully complete yet. So the intention of today was to have another difficult conversation, right? That is in this continuum. And it's like, okay, so we're going to circle back and do this. And then instead, there were crickets. She didn't reach out. She didn't schedule that. And when she surfaced and shared about it, like, there was a check in, but it was like she said, I needed to work in a steady state for a while today. I just needed to be in and get some things done. And I was trusting that when it was surfacing, I would be in a better place to reach out to schedule that next conversation. So if she was thinking, my reputation is I have to do this, as I said, versus I want to be the best leader and discern my best actions, right? So that's what she did. And she paused. And when she came, later to it, she was just like, I was like, wow, that was so wise. Wow, that's so brilliant, right? And I love that, check in with yourself as you continue to grow. We need to trust that inner compass a little bit too, that measures that real, what's the reputation that I want to go for. So,
And I love that word too, Barbara. I want to leave everybody with that word, discernment. Discernment. That's really, you have to have time and space and self reflection to discern. But when you do discern, then you're in a different mode that's going to get better results. So I love that word, discernment.